everything that happened and just this new path that we're on of, becoming free, like literally free. And it says our legacy, mentally alert, physically strong, morally straight, and financially free. That's what we're going for.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Dynamis Podcast. We are here for part 2 with TJ White, the founder and CEO of Wooby Hoody, a badass company that took military woobies and turned them into hoodies. And they got all kinds of stuff now, hats, t-shirts, they got patches, flags, everything you could think of. I'm sitting here rocking the new Gen 3 Rhodesian, which was my Christmas gift to myself. Super stoked to be repping it. Check it out. I'm sure you're going to see some content from this. Go to their Instagram, check them out. But if you have not listened to part 1 of the Wooby Hoody story, go back. It frames the next part of this conversation that we're going to jump into and really focus on the business and the asset allocation of TJ and what he's doing that's just so different and how he's growing exponentially. They're at a phase in their business right now where the train has left the station. So we're going to dig into what led to that tipping point, the sleepless nights, and just psychological endurance it took to get where they are at now and where the future's taking them in the next chapter. So please check out episode 1 of TJ White's story of Wooby Hoody. It's really inspiring. This is a fun episode for me. I'm sitting here with my Ranger buddy in Sandpoint and just reminiscing about old times and catching up and talking all things business and entrepreneurship. So where we left off was you guys started in 2018. You got samples in 2018, and it was 2019 you really started selling your product.
Yeah.
Right? You're still contracting at this time. You're overseas. So take me through 2019 to 2020.
Okay, so 2019, we're starting to get a grasp on things. We've tweaked the website a little bit. We're learning a little bit about Instagram and Facebook and our posts and what we're talking about and how we're taking our pictures. And I think we had hired a couple photographers by this point to get some more professional looking pictures. So it was just slowly building it up. And a lot of it was just stumbling our way through. I think it's like this for a lot of entrepreneurs is you're building it and there's a template out there. You can go find the design for anything that you want. You can go find it. But once you actually get into it and start doing it, like a house, for example, here's how you find a property. Here's how you close on it. You renovate it and then you rent it out or sell it or whatever you're trying to do. And when you start getting into it, you notice that each one of those steps, there's 100 little sub-steps that you have to do too. So we were just stumbling our way through this. And as we're progressing, we're getting better. It hit that natural stopping point just because of our lives of she was pregnant, I was gone, contracting, and then we had the boys. Luke and Liam, March 18th, 2020. And I think I left probably 30 or 45 days after that to go back to work. So I was there for a month and a half or so. And that was the beginning of all that bullshit. And at the time, you don't know what you don't know, right?
When you say all that bullshit, what you're talking about is COVID.
Yeah.
The tyrannical embarrassment of fear-mongering, false information, and a straight up bullying.
Yeah, all that bullshit.
All that bullshit. COVID started.
Yeah, all of that. So, and in the beginning, I didn't know. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. You're just seeing shit on the news and, oh, it's coming this way, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking about it as man, I just had these 2 kids. I have to fly overseas. I hope I'm okay. And it's in the back of your mind, I'm healthy. I hope I get through this. Maybe I'll get sick and fight through it. I'll be fine. And I fly over to work, fly back home. Maybe I got lucky. Fly over to work, fly back home. And I'm just doing this. I think I ended up doing that 5 times. And during this time, Wooby Hoody is slowing to a halt because she's overwhelmed, taking care of 2 babies by herself. I'm in and out. And it's just kind of are we going to keep doing this? Before this, we went to a mastermind, Sean Whalen's Lions Den Live. She wanted to go. I was reading some books. I felt empowered because I had a business, but I didn't know what I was doing. It was just, I run my own business, but you're not really running your own business. I created another job for myself. So we go down to this mastermind and I get to hear all these people talk. And it was very eye-opening listening to these real entrepreneurs, multi-millionaires, very successful, and not just business-wise, but family-wise too, which is one of the things that really stuck out for me. So we come back home and I'm hanging out with my buddies. He does like a little crypto class. I'm still drinking all the time, hanging out, partying, going out to the bars on the weekend. And I go to his crypto class and we're sitting there knocking beers back while he's explaining Bitcoin and all this other stuff to us. And then afterwards we go out to the bars, and typical Ranger fashion, like I'm not leaving until the bar closes. And then I'm going to go back home and I'm going to keep drinking till I pass out. So we do this, and I don't know what it was, but some bug had been planted in my head of like, you can do more. You're capable of more. Like, you can be better. And this one morning, I don't know why, but this one morning was like life-changing for me. I wake up on the floor. I'm fully clothed on the living room floor. She's feeding our 1-year-old sons. And like, as I pick my head up and I look over, both of those two turn and they're looking at me and they're watching me. And I just have this epiphany of like, these two little dudes are just like a blank canvas. And the thing that I am showing them right now, I am normalizing to them. And it gives me the chills right now talking about it. But it was just like a fucking slap in the face of, you need to get your shit together. And so that day I got up, I went and threw up. I was still drunk. Got up, went and threw up, took a shower, and I came back out and was like, I'm going to quit drinking. Nobody expected this ever. And like, the goal was 365 days, stop drinking, and turn Wooby Hoody into $1 million company. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. Like 365 days. And that was the big thing. Like, I just needed a goal on the backside, like build Wooby Hoody up, but stop drinking for 365 days. Those two things, the COVID bullshit and me making that vow to myself, and I've posted it too, it's on my social media somewhere, but those two things really lit the fuse for all of this. So I had about 2 weeks before I went back over on my next trip, and I said, when I leave on that trip, it was Memorial Day 2021, I am going to stop drinking. And yeah, so I fly over to work and everyone's talking about the jab. Like, oh, you might have to do it, and I didn't believe it. Like, there's no way. Unfathomable is probably the best way to describe it. And I remember being asked, like, hey, did you do it? I was like, yeah, I'm not going to answer. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you don't have to. I got a couple of those, and then on the last one, it was like, okay, well, if you don't tell us, we're saying no. We're checking you down as no. I'm like, yeah, you check whatever you want. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to tell you. And at that point is when everything turned, and it was like, oh, like him, he's the one. He won't do it. I didn't care, but there's still like that, I don't know, the thought in the back of your mind of when everybody, all your peers, everybody everybody in your life, your circle is like, yeah, we're all doing it. I was like, I can't. It's not for me. I'm not going to. And I put it off and put it off and put it off. And finally it came down. They're like, if you don't do this, you're going home. And I was halfway through a trip. I had 2 1-year-old sons.
That you were supporting?
Yes.
Solely?
Yes.
And going home meant you're not getting fed. You're not getting paid.
Not getting paid. We had bought our house the year before that. So I had a mortgage. I had 2 kids, a wife who is Costa Rican, who moved up here, 2 years prior, or whatever it was. And everything was riding on me and my job. And that's how we were supporting everything. And I remember standing there, I was telling you this earlier, but standing there like on the tarmac, waiting on the plane to come in because I was going home. My trip was cut in half. So they send me home and I'm standing there on the tarmac. And like our old recce medic was standing there and I was like, yeah, I'm going home. Like, I didn't do it, like looking at like you're a leper or something. And he's like, yeah, me neither, man. Like, all right. So, and he actually lives down in Coeur d'Alene too. So good for him.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
He's out here too.
You made a comment to me when we were talking about this earlier, and this is something that I experienced as well. We come from a community of savages, public servants, of people that are supposed to represent and fight for something more than themselves, for right, for good. We're supposed to be in defense of those that cannot defend themselves.
Yeah.
Like, that's the obligation that we upheld. And when it really came down to it, I think the most heartbreaking thing about all of that was the realization that for a lot of people, it was an act. It was hollow words. You had mentioned to your peers, like, hey guys, like, are you doing this? You know, and the responses were, well, I have a mortgage.
Yeah.
I have kids,
Yeah.
you know, and you said, so do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for me in the fire department. It's like all of us, we know what's right.
Yeah.
Everybody knew.
Yeah.
Every single person. And what they submitted to was fear, and fear out of money.
I think at the time I understand why some of them did it. Some of them I was like really disappointed. There was a guy I was talking to, I think we were eating chow or whatever, and he mentioned to me, he's like, I saw this coming. So I just went ahead and got the jab 3-4 months ago because I knew they were going to do this. And like, I was already going home at this point. I'm still there. I'm still working, but I have a flight home at this point. And I'm like, really? Like, you knew this was coming? So you just got in line? And he's like, yeah, I knew it was coming. Like, I was one of the smart ones. And I remember asking him, I was like, which neighbor are you going to turn in first? And he goes, what? I was like, yeah, you'll figure it out. You know?
He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the weird thing that you mentioned, the next thing that happened is like, you became the guy that everybody pointed at.
Yeah. Yeah. I got asked once, this was why I was still there. Whenever I walked in or somewhere, like that's where the conversation changed towards me not taking it and going home. And I remember this one lady asked me, she's like, so this is the hill you're going to die on, huh? And I just thought it was so weird. And like immediately I was thinking, nah, like this is the cliff I'm not going to go over. Like this is where I'm drawing the line. Like it's already gone too far. One of the things that opened my eyes for it was just like paying attention. Like I can leave my house, I can fly, I can have layovers, I can stay the night in a hotel, I can get on another plane, I can fly to work. Once I get to work, I'm around all these people who flew in from everywhere. And then it's like, okay, but this thing's still out there. I'm like, what fucking thing? Like, how did all of us get together from all over the place? And it's like, okay, you're sick. Like, what? You got a fever? You're not feeling good? And it's like, okay, sit in your room until you're feeling better, and then you can come back out.
Yeah.
And, like, just seeing this over and over again, you know, with however many trips it was, I think 5, was just like, I don't need this. I know I don't. I don't think I've had it. I don't see how I could not have it. So if I did, it wasn't that bad. Like, why would I take this?
Yeah.
You know, and especially after the military, you get who knows how many fucking vaccines you got there. You don't know what it is. Yeah. And half the time they screw up your vaccine record. And it's like, no, I got that last time. And they're like, well, they didn't mark it off. There you go. Fuck.
It's this odd thing where you become the bad guy for like standing your ground, right? It's the same thing I experienced in the fire department. You become the target. You become the target. The whispers, the conversations. I had people tell me, like, dude, you're going to throw everything away over this? This is the thing? Like, you're of a dream job here. You won the lottery. You're going to throw it away over this? Like, this hill, same thing, same comment. And I guess my pushback to those people that would say, this is the hill you're going to die on is, have you even stopped to consider if this isn't the line for you, what is?
Yeah, where is it?
Have you ever considered? Because if you don't identify that line, it's just really easy to normalize that deviance and let the line slide back further and further and further. I went to, have you ever been to Israel?
No.
So they have this museum, this Holocaust museum in Israel and Jerusalem. It's insane. It documents the Holocaust. There's interviews of like German soldiers, and there's like photographs of like German soldiers, your neighbor, regular people who are stacking up young Jewish kids like trophies, shooting them like squirrels in the street. And they're like holding heads. And look, you and I both know how things that are not accepted in society become normal behaviors in war. It's just, it's the beast of war. But we're talking like innocent children and civilians, you know, they're stacking them up. And, you know, you got to ask yourself, how does a German guy kiss his wife in the morning, put on his uniform, walk down the street to a factory that burns 10,000 human beings a day alive, and then come back home? And it's not that he was just approached randomly and said, hey, I need you to commit mass genocide. It was this slow trickle of deviance that, well, I'm safe and secure. Well, if I say something, I'm going to be the target. Everybody's going with it. And it's like, if this is not your line, what is?
Yeah. Where is it going to be?
Where is it going to be?
Do you have one? I think that was a lot of it is like, you haven't identified a line for yourself. So where is it? You have to draw something. It's not just like, oh, it's farther on, because once you get up there, the behavior up there seems more normal.
Absolutely.
And then you go a little bit farther. Well, this is just the new normal.
I tell my son this all the time. A lot of people talk about integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, to some degree, that's true. But true integrity is doing the right thing when everybody's watching.
Oh, that's good.
When everybody's watching.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing a different thing. That's where integrity shows.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, that is freaking hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard.
A lot harder than when no one's watching.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
And it's you. And it's so lonely and isolating that you have moments, like this whole thing was so illogical. But there are moments where you start to question your sanity. Like, am I the stupid person?
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
What am I missing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what do these people see that I don't see? Because I cannot logically make a pathway that makes this make sense.
Yeah.
And you start to question yourself and your sanity, and it's completely isolating. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, dude, it's just getting on your knees and just praying about it and tapping into like the core tenets of who you are as a human, everything you've devoted your life to in public service and servitude of others. And ultimately, it's jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
You know? And so I experienced, and I'm sure you did too, and this is what I want to get into next. When you left and you came back home, what was that like?
Scariest time of my life. I would much rather go back to combat, deploy again, whatever. Coming home to a wife and 2 kids and a mortgage, and I think it's just how we're wired, but I felt like a failure. Like, I got sent home halfway through a trip, and I was just like, fuck. Like, I was terrified. And it's a multi-day trip back home. My kids are 1, and I'm wondering, like, what are they going to think about me? As they get older, like, damn, Dad, like, you really screwed us there.
You could have just done the thing and kept a job and fed us and kept a safe life.
Yeah, like, you moved us up. You had us in North Idaho, and it's, like, freezing up here, and, you just keep making all these dumb decisions, you know? And honestly, it was hands down the scariest point of my life.
How many sleepless nights?
Countless.
Same thing for me, you know. And you talk about feeling like a failure. I'd never been fired in my life from anything.
Yep.
I'm laying in bed and same exact thoughts. Like, I felt dirty. I felt like a failure. I couldn't understand where I was and what my kids were going to think. And the only thing I could think to do was double down, because I told myself, my kids didn't ask for this. This is my choice. It's my bed. I'm going to lay in it. They don't deserve to know that there was ever a difference between me keeping that safe, cushy job and not having it. And so I better figure my shit out and get to work.
On the big flight home, coming back over to the States, I was awake the whole time, and I just remember thinking constantly of, like, I don't care what it takes. I'll go start making coffee. I'll be a barback. I'll be a bouncer. I'll be a janitor, a nighttime janitor at the school cleaning floors. I don't care what it takes. Like, I'm not going to fail now. I'm going home feeling like a failure, but it's not going to get any worse. Like, I will do whatever it takes to stay where we're at and to keep going. I'll find my way through this. One way or another. The hard skills that I knew I had weren't really useful now coming back home. So it was just like, okay, what can I rely on? I'm a hard fucking worker, and I don't need sleep. I know I can go days without eating and not sleeping, and, like, it sucks. I'm familiar with it, but I can do it. And that was my plan, is just like, I'm just going to work my fucking ass off.
We can suffer well. We can suffer well, which I'm not promoting being like a masochist, but when you know that you can endure longer than the guy next to you, when you know that you can sit in it and suffer and freeze and starve, you can eat your shit sandwich longer than the next guy. That is a powerful super weapon psychologically. That gets you to the next level when it counts. When everything's on the line. So you come home, you're laying in bed, sleepless nights. You got 2 kids that need to be fed. You're willing to go all in. You got Wooby Hoody. What does that look like coming home?
So if you let me back up for a second, after that mastermind, told her the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do with the business. She was on board, like, yes, let's get this going. So we're jumping in on these calls that he's doing. It ended up, when I lost the job, I had to back out of that one because all our money was drying up fast. But we're still, like, trying to build this. We still have this goal of, like, let's build this company. And now that I just lost my contracting job, it was like, okay, like, seriously, we got to fucking build this thing, you know? I started talking with a friend of mine before I came home. Like I knew I was going home and I was like, I need passive income. I need other income fast because I got a few weeks. He's like, oh yeah, just do real estate. Like, what do you mean just do real estate? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'll walk you through it. It's real easy. Just go get a rental property. And so I made a plan and I get home, we're knocking out Wooby Hoody, and I come home and it's like, okay, I have to start building passive income. Because one, the biggest reason is like, I'm not going to end up in that situation again. I'm not going to put my family in that situation again. I don't want somebody else lording over me of like, kiss the ring or go find a new path again.
Yep, exactly.
This is my path now. I got it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but it's mine. And I wrote down in my calendar, October 30th, I was going to have my first rental. No clue what I was doing. Didn't know where to start. I didn't know anything.
What was the date?
July.
Let's circle back to this mastermind. Tell me about this mastermind.
Okay. So Lions Den Live, Sean Whalen, is my first time ever going to one of these, ever even hearing about it. It was my wife's idea, changed my life. She has a lot of good ideas. So we go down there, we're listening to all these like huge entrepreneurs, and one of them really stuck out with me, Mark Evans. And so I'm listening as he's talking, I'm like following him on social media. One of the things that really stuck out with me is how he talked about the stuff, like where he grew up, lower class family, great business entrepreneur, great family man. And I was like, oh yeah, like I can get on board with that. So when all this, like the bank account's drying up, I back out of Lions Den and I'm still following Mark. I'm taking in all the free content I can get. And a couple things that I picked up from Lions Den, and I'm like, I'm going to start changing my life right now. Because I quit drinking that trip. 45 days into this trip of me not drinking, I lose my fucking job and come back home. And it's like, man, I should probably start drinking again. Like if there was ever a time, like this is it. Thankfully, I didn't do that. Stuck with the plan. I'm reading books. I'm like podcasts, like anything I can do to change my mindset and stay positive, which was massively helpful. You know, why I'm going through all this. Like I'm still waking up in the morning. I'm listening to like immediately my alarm goes off. I roll over and hit play on some like positive little motivational speech just to like start planting that. It's like we got a lot of work to undo, like the dark humor from battalion, from regiment, like just being in there, like the stuff you see, the stuff you do, like typically our minds are just, I think, pretty dark. That's why we're there. We're the misfits, or what'd you call it? The lost boys.
Lost boys, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to unwire all this. I'm trying to stay sober. I'm trying to be a good father and all this. And I like what Mark's doing. And he ends up starting another mastermind called the DM Alliance. And at this time, this is after the first rental. This is in January or February or something. I still have no job. I'm doing like odds and end jobs, just trying to make money. And it was just like, this is my chance. Yes. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Nothing. Like, I can scrape together some money to get me through a few months, and maybe I'll just like get enough from that I can back out after that, and I can take all that and run with it. So I sign up for it, and immediately it's constantly good stuff. And at this point, like my circle is me, my wife, my kids, and a couple friends I have up here. I start meeting all the people that are signing up for this. They're entrepreneurs, they're building, they're thinking different, they're talking different, our conversations are different. Making friends with them, like it continues that mindset shift to where I'm not waking up pissed off and angry all the time. I'm not like wanting to go out and drink anymore. It's like, well, how much better can we get today? Like how much healthier can we get today? And
you become proactive.
Exactly.
You're the pilot of your own plane.
Yeah.
You're not just getting bounced around in the turbulence anymore.
And that's when the light bulb went off, and it's like, okay, so I'm already all in on this, right? I'm back home. I'm figuring it out by myself. We're building our business. We're working on real estate. I joined this mastermind, and it's like, okay, you can really take control of your own life and take it wherever you want. Do whatever you want. You want to be super successful. You want to be super healthy. You want to be a great parent. You want to go get a 9-to-5 job and do the bare minimum, or it's totally up to you. And whatever you want to do, it's your choice.
And you're responsible.
Yeah.
And I think that really, accountability, that hits home for guys like you and I. So similar story when I joined the mastermind was like, holy crap, Hail Mary. Like, babe, I'm unemployed. I'm going to take our savings. And these masterminds, they're expensive. Yeah. Really expensive. And especially when you don't have income coming in.
Yeah. You know? When you don't have a job, they're like way more expensive.
And you got to tell your wife, like, What's the ROI going to be? I don't know. I just believe it's going to work. Yeah. I just believe that this is our best option, is to be in proximity of killers that are doing next level things, and mindset for sure. There's one book in particular that really, in combination with the mastermind, I'm in a mastermind called Go Abundance, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. It's been just incredible, the access to individuals I've had in there. My progression has just astronomically increased from where it would have been without it. But one of the best books I ever read, it was given to me by my stepdad, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, changed my life. And I was going to divulge something about when I was reading that book, but I don't know if I'm ready to share that on the show yet. So I'll tell you after the after the podcast, because there was a combination of something else that implemented like massive change in my life. Okay. We'll talk about that off the show. So masterminds, just being in proximity to other people is so important, dude.
It's controlling your circle.
Yeah.
And when you put the right people around you, you cannot help but grow into the next version of yourself. And absolutely. If you're looking around and like you have the same negative people and the same negative instances happening in your life, you can always pinpoint to why those are happening. And you can remove yourself from these situations and literally go find a new circle. Go be around different people that are doing different things, and you will turn into that version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me how that played into Wooby Hoody during that time.
Just, it's a value add. Yeah. Not just for me, but
changed how you thought about business. I'm sure there are people in your circle that were helping you think about e-commerce differently, maybe websites, direct to consumer.
There's so many experts in there, and they all have their own background. And it's not like everybody's an e-com expert, but like one guy's an expert at emails. He's been doing it for the last 10 years. And this guy's been building websites, or maybe he doesn't build websites, but his best friend builds websites, and he'll hook you up with them. It's just having that network. And I think one of the tips I got in there, I wrote it down, implemented it. And I think that month we made enough with Wooby Hoody that covered the mastermind for the year. And it was just like one little conversation we had covered the whole mastermind for the year.
That's awesome.
And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is worth it. And I've told you about some of the other stuff we've done with people I've met in there. And it's just compounding everything that we're doing. Yeah. Is being in a circle of like-minded individuals that are wanting to build, wanting to grow, wanting to get better, and not just stay stagnant or just be a rudderless boat, just floating around wherever the wind takes you. And like, no, there's a direction.
Let's talk about the progression of Wooby Hoody now.
Okay.
Where is Wooby Hoody? Where are you guys at? What are you doing? Where are you going?
Okay, so we just bought our warehouse we're in right now, which was super exciting. We had worked on it for a long time, and that's awesome. We got tons of ideas. We got stuff that's ordered that's supposed to be getting here, new products, new designs, stuff that's in the works right now. This right now is one of our biggest months that we've ever had. I keep seeing things growing and getting bigger and better. We're getting faster. Systems are getting smoother, really focusing on customers and making sure that they're happy with everything and listening to their ideas. That's where the whole Gen 3 came from, is like, what do you guys want? Here's the Gen 2. This is what we came up with. And then just talking to customers of like, do you like it? Do you not like it? What changes do you want? We listen. We made Gen 3. So now we're getting tons of great feedback from that. And man, I want to keep going. I want to turn this into a multi-million-dollar company, and that's the direction we're going.
When do you think you'll hit 7 figures in revenue? How far off do you think you are?
Well, the goal is 2 more years.
2 years, 7 figures.
Yep.
What's the sales volume a month right now? How many items are you guys moving a month?
Right now, I would say we're several hundred a month.
And that's all online, right? You guys don't have a brick and mortar?
No. I mean, we have this place, but it's not a storefront.
Right. Where's the majority of your sales come from? Social media?
Yeah, and emails. We have a good email campaign, which is huge.
Who manages your email campaign?
So we have a guy that he manages our website, emails, and text messaging.
How many emails are you sending a month?
Right now, I think right now, with Black Friday and everything, we're doing like 2 to 3 emails a week.
And he's writing the copy for all those?
Yeah.
You send him what the promotions are, he writes the copy?
Most of the time, he knows the promotions, or he's recommending the promotions. Yeah. Hey, you have this much in inventory of this. Like, I'm going to send an email out about this. Tell me what you think. We'll make any tweaks we need to.
So, like, what are you guys using? MailChimp or?
Klaviyo.
Klaviyo. Yeah. Okay. How long ago did you go to Klaviyo?
That was something we learned at the Lion's Den, so 2021.
Why do you like Klaviyo?
Because it's the first one we used and it worked.
So do you have the access to that, or does this guy have the access?
No, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we had it all set up.
And then he took it over.
I actually set it up and started building it out. And then we just hit that point where it's like, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing anymore. Got introduced to him through a friend, and like first month it was just a home run. So
and like
he got the job.
When you purchase, like I just purchased an item from you right away. Hey, thanks for your order. Wooby Hoody's processing. Does that come from Shopify?
No, that would be through Klaviyo. Klaviyo and Shopify are linked.
Okay. So is Klaviyo specifically for like e-commerce type companies?
I want to say yes. I don't know specifically, but I know Klaviyo and Shopify, they
work
actually,
hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
How many people do you have on that email list?
Thousands.
And how are you gathering? Just like inquiries from social media, or?
No, most of it's when they go to our site.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the little pop-up.
Yeah.
That's the majority of it.
That pop-up got me too.
Yeah, that's good. That's where
is good. Yeah.
the deals come from, and yeah.
So tell me about the vision of the company. You gave me a tour. You know, we drove around Sandpoint. I'm in your warehouse, you know, and you're like, hey, the goal is we want 100% of our products manufactured here.
Yeah.
And tell me, like, what's the vision here?
Yeah, so it's to get everything manufactured in the U.S., which is something we were working on with the previous administration. It's a lot harder now. We were close, and it wasn't quite there. We weren't big enough to start paying for it yet, and obviously everything's taking a turn the other way, so it's a lot harder now. And so that's our goal, is get everything 100% made in America. Right now it's designed, shipped, ran, operated, like everything else. And then we still have a lot of products that are made in America, but that's our goal. We just hired our first employee. She's awesome. Been a total rock star, Air Force veteran.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and just keep building, keep growing.
Dude.
That's it.
I love it. Now we kind of come back into my world of real estate. One of the reasons that we started a conversation right away is I was telling you about the private lending company I'm building. Yep. And we're on equal journeys, just different phases. I started in real estate. You started in entrepreneurship. And now we're crisscrossing. Like you're taking all of your profit from entrepreneurship and pouring it back into real estate. And I'm taking some of my residuals from real estate and pouring it on into entrepreneurship. Because I think both of us realize you need both. You need a aggressive company that is building your top line, and then you need to take that revenue and pour it right back into cash producing passive assets, right? And so our journeys are the same, but we just took different boats to get there, right? And before we recorded this, you were driving me around town, showing me some of your rentals. You're closing on a triplex down the road here. You got a couple single families. So you wrote down in your calendar on your desktop, October 31st. What was the date when you wrote that down?
July 20-something.
Had no idea how you were going to do it?
No
idea.
I mean, we bought our house, but we were renting that house. We were renting it through some rental company. I wrote the owner a letter. Hey, if you're interested in selling, you know, we're looking for a place. Our term's getting ready to expire, so if you want to sell, let me know. And yeah, he wrote us back like a month later, and he's like, yeah, I'll sell.
Let's do it.
So that was the only house I ever bought. And that was one of those handshake deals. It just worked out great. He was a stand-up, awesome guy, and he stuck to his end of the bargain. We stuck to ours, and it just worked out great. So now, coming back home in July, no clue what to do. I don't know realtors. I don't know anything about buying a house, because the only one I did was just like, I want your house. I'll sell you the house. Okay, cool. Here you go. So I'm just looking, and my buddy's giving me these ideas. You can go here, go talk to realtors, go find wholesalers. I didn't know what a wholesaler was.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy story. The neighbor moves out, and it's right before winter, and they're our neighbors, so I'm close with them. And the owner, she lives somewhere else. I'd gotten to know her from when she was in town and stuff. And she's like, yeah, our daughter moved out, so we don't know what to do with the place. And I was like, well, I'll keep an eye on it, make sure a pipe doesn't break or anything, and just let me know what you're going to do. And again, here comes the wife, like, you're trying to buy a house. Like, go tell her you want to buy it. And I was like, no, she won't sell it. She's like, no, just go throw it out there.
Yeah.
So I do. And I just go tell her, like, hey, we're looking for an investment property. If you ever decide to sell, will you just keep us in mind? And it was probably 2 weeks later, she sent me a text message, and she goes, hey, we talked about it. We want to sell, and we want to sell it to you.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. She knew that I had just come home from that whole shit show. We're talking back and forth, working some stuff out, and she comes back into town, and I have to go meet her over a cup of coffee. And my buddy's like coaching me. He's telling me everything to do, like have this written up and say this and handle it like this. And because I'd never done sales, I'd never done any of this. So we go meet for a cup of coffee, and it couldn't have worked any better, literally. We're sitting there, we're drinking the coffee. Small talk was going on way too long at this point. I was like, all right, do it, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, here's what I'll offer you. I'll offer you $300,000 for your house because it's an investment property. Like, it's worth more. If you're willing to do this is what I'll offer you, and $45,000 down. And she's like, I'll sell it to you for $270 with 40 down.
Nice.
I was like, okay, yeah, like I wasn't expecting that.
Sold.
Yeah. So,
and it's just progressed from there.
yeah.
And you're on the mission. You're on the mission to keep doing more and more.
Yeah.
And one of our first conversations was like, hey, how can we work together? How can we help you get funded into next deals or whatever? And a lot of, what I love, and I think a perfect place to end is when I walked into your office here, I'm looking up at the back wall and there's a sign you got hung there. Mm-hmm. And you look at it every day when you come in on your office. Your kids see it. Your wife sees it. Tell me about that sign.
So that was a mixture of battalion, obviously, and then everything that happened and just this new path that we're on of becoming free.
Yeah.
Like, literally free. And it says our legacy, mentally alert, physically strong, morally straight, and financially free. And that's what we're going for. It's health and fitness. It's mentally sharp. It's education. It's setting ourselves up, setting our kids up, our grandkids up. And that's the goal.
And you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell every once in a while you meet people and they've made a decision and committed to action. And you can just tell right off the bat. And you are that individual. Anybody who's listening who has not checked out Wooby Hoody, it's meaningful to me to see my Ranger buddies that are getting to the next level, doubling down, changing their network. And something that I want to circle back to is to tap into dudes that are a little bit lost, circling, disenfranchised, throw them into like a mastermind environment and show them what is possible.
I think one of the biggest things right now, like for the guys that are lost or trying to figure something out or whatever it is, whatever stage you're at in your life, is that understanding of you can take your situation. It doesn't matter. Everybody has their bucket of excuses of why it won't work for me. Set that aside and just realize that wherever you want to go with your life, whatever you want to do, it's possible. And it's just, you got to put the work in.
Put the work in. And
it's daily. It's not like I'm going to work on this on the weekends and stuff. You wake up every morning and I go hit the gym, I read, I educate myself.
Yep.
I pay attention to what I'm eating. Like, longevity is huge. Like, where am I going? Like, I want to build this thing up, but I also want to be able to enjoy it 30 years from now.
Yep.
So you're just building all these things. And as you do this day by day, you're changing your life. And, you pick up an asset here, you pick up an asset there, and you just keep building and you just keep growing. And it's not hey, I changed my mind, I'm going to do this. And then tomorrow, why don't I have it? It's a long game.
And you wake up one day and your whole life is different.
It's worth it.
And, you and I were talking about this earlier. As Alex Hormozi says, you do it for so long that it's unreasonable for you to fail because you just don't quit.
The only way you can fail is if you quit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a perfect place to end. Where can people get in touch with you? How do they follow along on the journey?
You can follow us at Wooby Hoody. It's WOOBYHOODY. Or you can follow me on Instagram at TJWhiteRGR.
Yeah. And you know what? If you guys want to support a veteran-owned business and buy one of these amazing products, I'm telling you, it's freaking amazing. If you come over to Wooby Hoody and place an order, just send TJ a DM. Say, hey, I was listening to the Dynamis podcast and was inspired to place an order and support a veteran-owned business. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to TJ. I don't get anything from it. I just want to see this guy win. He's going to win with or without you, so you might as well be part of the journey.
Cool.
Anyways,
thank you.
Thank you for everybody listening. I hope you guys got something good and valuable out of this week's episode, and we'll catch you all on the flip side. See you next week.